Well, the Super Bowl is just over a week away, and victim advocacy groups are shining a light on the massive human trafficking operations happening at the biggest sporting event in the U.S. each year. According to the Department of Homeland Security, human trafficking rakes in an estimated $150 billion every year across the globe. The increase in travelers to the Super Bowl's host city this year at the home of the NFL Cardinals team in Glendale, Arizona, putting local law enforcement on high alert as human trafficking typically takes place inside of hotels, motels, or resorts. DHS officials predict about 25 million people are human trafficking victims throughout the world, 80% in forced labor, 20% in sex trafficking. Groups like No Trafficking Zone, a nonprofit out of Houston, creating partnerships to crack down on so-called hunting grounds for human trafficking predators. The president of the No Trafficking Zone organization, Jacqueline Aludo, joining us now to discuss. Thank you so much for being here, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much for having me.
What specifically are you tracking in terms of the Super Bowl? What can we expect this year in terms of sex trafficking and human trafficking?
Sure. So one of the things that No Trafficking Zone does is we create no trafficking zones in specific areas. NRG Park here in Houston, Texas became the first sports and entertainment venue in the world to become a no trafficking zone. And what we did with the park law enforcement partners was implement really solutions and strategies and a response team so that if there is human trafficking in that park stadium, we can respond properly. We also do that when we work with other sports stadiums. Referring to the Super Bowl, we know that when any large events happen, you'll see a spike in sex trafficking.
And why is that?
It's really just when men convene in large groups, whether it's oil conferences, sports conferences, hunting, car shows, there will be a spike in the commercial sexual exploitation.
What do predators look for in a potential victim to kidnap? And what do people and just spectators who are attending need to watch out for?
Sure. So I think the misconception is like exactly what you said is kidnapping. Traditionally, sex trafficking isn't where you throw someone in a van because you would obviously get caught a lot quicker doing that in a large crowd. Really what predators look for is vulnerabilities. And vulnerabilities, whether it's a young girl or someone at an event and maybe they're drinking too much and they want to lure you to their car or their hotel room, that's really how sex trafficking takes place. It's force, fraud, or coercion.
I appreciate that distinction. And we know many of the women who are caught up in human trafficking schemes are initially reported missing. 40% of the 250,000 women and girls listed missing in 2020 were people of color. Why do you believe that people of color are targeted more often?
Well, people of color are targeted more often because of the vulnerabilities in their community. The war on poverty and in vulnerable communities is very lucrative. And so you have to realize human trafficking is a $150 billion industry. And so when predators target vulnerable communities, it's easier to exploit people who really are more vulnerable.
What would your advice be, or what would you like to see from that host city of Glendale, Arizona this year?
I would like to see, and they're doing it, a multidisciplinary and collaborative of law enforcement and NGOs and survivor leaders coming together to really implement a plan in place to make sure that that city is prepared for sex trafficking and sex crimes. And I think that they are doing a good job.
All right, Jacqueline Aludo, thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And taking a look at the legal side of human trafficking operations, former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder joining us now. Tracy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And since authorities know that there is an increased potential for human trafficking at large events, what measures are federal agencies likely already taking ahead of this year's Super Bowl?
So the biggest thing that they're doing is actually in regards to financial intelligence, because as the former guest said, $150 billion a year, really it's about following the money, and really these collaborative efforts between law enforcement, hotels, financial institutions, the stadium, and then obviously the Super Bowl host committee is going to be extremely key here. Law enforcement can't just exist in a vacuum in terms of human trafficking because there are so many facets associated with this. And just as we saw after the Super Bowl in Los Angeles last year, they arrested 183 people immediately after on sex trafficking charges.
Wow. And DHS reporting human trafficking, that $150 billion industry. We were just looking at that graphic. And as you mentioned, that first thought to simply follow the money. So with that in mind, does law enforcement have any idea of who the criminal organizations are behind these massive global operations?
So that's what makes it harder, right? Is because you have for every one person being sex trafficked, there's just hundreds more behind that. And that's the issue, is you're typically dealing with one point person. And those are really sort of the lower folks on the totem pole. The larger folks in the operations, the ones raking in most of the money and the ones laundering most of the money, those are the ones that are the hardest to get to. And that is really what law enforcement is trying to focus on. Because if you can focus on those folks and take that out, then the money really disappears. Therefore, the demand disappears.
I appreciate that. And let's say, Tracy, as an investigator and with your investigator hat on, if you were attending the Super Bowl this year, for example, what would you be looking out for? What are maybe the signs that the general public can be watching out for to try to crack down on the growth of forced labor or sex slavery?
So I think one of the biggest things is, to make sure that if you are someone who is younger, not to be alone. We just had an incident here in Dallas not that long ago at the American Airlines Center where a young lady was kidnapped and taken into sex trafficking. Even if it's to use the restroom, to always be aware of your surroundings and try not to go anywhere alone. Like, that is really, in my opinion, I know it's oversimplifying it, but that is the simplest thing you can do, because a lot of times in terms of sex trafficking, a lot of the people that will approach folks may not sort of scream, someone is here to try and kidnap me. So really the onus is upon, unfortunately, the person to ensure that they are safe and they are taking those measures to keep themselves safe.
I appreciate that. And I know I've seen some undercover videos in the past where the person approaching the potential victim is a woman, actually. It's not a man wearing a ski mask jumping out of the bushes. Is that typical, that it is just a setup in a situation that really doesn't scream danger right away?
In my opinion, and in what I have seen, yes. And interestingly, I saw this both at the CIA and the FBI using women as sort of the point person, because what we associate a lot of times with femininity is letting our guard down, is trusting. And that is a lot of times what is used as the point person to lure a target into a sex trafficking ring.
All right. I really appreciate the insight you shared tonight. Tracy Walder, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Natasha.
And still to come on NewsNation.